is the Associate Director, Operations and Founding Trustee, Akshar Foundation. Ms. Parmita is a humanitarian and social activist leading projects for underprivileged children. A postgraduate of the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, she was already organizing and managing educational programs for children in underprivileged communities and disaster relief programs as a teenager. As the principal of Akshar Forum, she has led the establishment of the school and continues to oversee the daily operations. The recipient of Devi Awards 2019 and a TEDx speaker at MUJ, that is Manipal University at Jaipur, she is a young inspiration to the educators of the nation. Ms. Parmita ji, I have read a lot about the work that your school is doing, and it becomes so fascinating every time I think about it and learn about it. So, without any further ados, uh, dear participants, let us hear it from Ms. Parmita, the kind of wonderful work that they have been doing at their school. Over to you, Parmita ji. Once again,
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, and yeah, thank you all for attending this.
thank
So
you.
today I will talk about our work, and our main theme is how child labor can save the world. Now that sounds controversial, so let's walk through that. So just take a moment to imagine 1 billion well-educated Indians. Just like that, India would become the most important nation on the planet. Now, we all want this, but it has always been too expensive until now. Now, I want to share an idea that can achieve this goal with no increase in education funding, which means that the government doesn't have to spend more in education to reach this goal. So now that sounds too good to be true. But the kids in our school, they used to be typical statistics, like most children in the world. By age 12, they would have dropped out of school, laboring in quarries and factories, smoking and drinking, getting into fights. They were just trapped in the vicious cycle of poverty. Now we have dropouts who are back in school, attending every day. They're model students, gaining 2 grade levels per year, not one, but 2 grade levels per year. They fix up and improve their communities and receive job training, and all at a similar cost to government schools. So, how can schools in India achieve universal quality education and the goal of 1 billion well educated citizens? So, it seems that the answer was under our noses the entire time. Number one, schools need to employ these child laborers. They need jobs. It's not optional for them to work or not. So let's employ them as private teachers for younger children. Employ them to grade tests and quizzes. Employ them to print worksheets and take attendance. Now, we can use cheap child labor to make quality education affordable. Now, elite private schools can afford to hire one adult teacher for every 5 students. We can train and employ children at a fraction of the cost. This is the key to scalability. This is the key to reaching every child in India. Is it possible, Dr. Parekh, to play the first video?
Yes, sure. Amit sir, please play the first
Yes,
video.
yes, ma'am. I'll just play.
This is the seed side view above
attack on a cot.
So the video wasn't that clear. I'm hoping you got some idea from the video, and I'm happy to share the videos later. So as we learned from our experience that it turns out that a teenager with a tablet can be a powerful teacher. We have piloted this idea in our schools, and in fact, our students might be some of the youngest paid teachers in the entire world. Though I should say that they are paid in a digital currency that they can only use at the school shop and on Amazon. So at first we thought that, the students would probably buy toys, candies with their earnings, but we found out that they mostly bought things that they really require. Things like sandals, clothes, staple food, shoes that helped reduce the financial burden on their families. So at first, most of our older students were dropouts who left primary school to start earning. Some as young as 12 years old worked in the local stone quarry, breaking rocks all day in the hot sun or in the factory or cutting down trees. Girls were mostly kept at home to do housework or sometimes traded off to serve more well-off families. The kids who are lucky enough to have parents, their families expect them to be either housekeepers or breadwinners. So we told the parents, send your daughters and sons to school instead of manual labor, and they will earn money at school. So the student wages, it starts off very low. So some parents complain that the children could earn more money by doing manual labor outside. So then we told them that if you send them to school, they will earn more and more as they learn more. But if you send them to a quarry, they will earn the same amount for the rest of their lives. So this pitch was very convincing. We got dropouts back into school, attending on time every single day, and convinced them to abandon manual labor. We started getting more and more kids until the school was at capacity. We easily went from 20 to 100 kids in 1 year. Kids that insist on coming to school every day, even if their parents don't care about schooling. Kids that protest if the school is closed, forcing us to remain open over summer break and winter holidays. So within a year, we had 100 more kids on wait list. Parents were begging to send their kids, pouring out their tragic stories to us every day. It was heartbreaking to send them away until we could build more classrooms. Nevertheless, it showed us that this concept could get dropouts back into school and keep them there. So in our first year, we still wondered, can older children be trained into effective private teachers for younger students? Can we teach children how to be teachers? Now we know the answer to that question. I want to show you a video of our student. Her name is Deepika, and she's one of our first students to decide to become a doctor when she grows up. She was recently promoted in school, and now she can teach 3 students at once and earn a higher wage. So let's watch that video.
Okay, number 1. Across. Across মানে কি বুঝাইছিল? সিধা। Good. Across মানে সিধা আর down মানে তললা। Good. এটা আমি across number 1 to করি। ঠিক আছে? কি আছে? What is the opposite of backward to? What is the opposite of bed? Bed মানে তো opposite মানে কি আছিল? উল্টা। উল্টা। কি কৈছে ইয়াতে বেডৰ উল্টা কি হয়? গুড গুড উল্টা। এতিয়া নাম্বার 5 what is slow low low মানে support no opposite of low support যেনেকুৱা কি এইটো ঘৰতে ইমান চাপৰ ন আৰু পাহাৰ গিলে কি হয় ওখ ওখ ন ওকে ওখটো কি কয়
I hope you got some idea about how the student teachers teach, and keep in mind that they're really nervous in front of the camera. All the examples that she comes up during her teaching are her own examples. And this particular kid, Deepika, in the lockdown period, she is teaching kids from English private schools at her home now because she's such an amazing teacher that parents who are sending their kids to private schools, they are paying her teach their students. So now I want to show you another video about the Kumari sisters. Let me give you a brief background. So their father operates a snack cart in the village, and he's very happy because his two elder daughters, Preeti and Bandhan, they get paid to teach their 6-year-old sister Sandhya every day at school and at home. Let's watch.
Somebody who fixed it. যোনে টিপনাহা ফিক্স কৰে ভাল কৰে সি কি কৰে ডেন্টিষ্ট এস 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 ফেডাৰ মানে ফেডাৰটো কেনেকুৱা হয় লাইক লাইক Number 1 to first ki hoy tu grandfather likha grandfather mane atta good asat pahat line na itu ki hoy mother mother mane koi hoy ma likha S and ox to किनका होता है Your hand has 5 তোমার হাতের পাঁচটা কি আছে fingers এক I
So now Sandhya, the youngest sister, she's reading English beyond her grade level. And if these girls become mothers, which is typical in the village at Preeti's age, they will be able to teach their children so that they can be more ready when they start school. Now, this cumulative exponential effect is how we can achieve the goal of 1 billion educated in India. This is how we can actually close the achievement gap between rich and poor and finally provide quality education for all. So in this education model, which we call meta teaching, which is teaching how to teach in a kind of a benign pyramid scheme, every young student has daily private lessons from an older, caring, paid student under direct supervision of adult teachers. That one-on-one attention is the key. The goal isn't to replace adult teacher. All the students have regular classes with adult teacher like other schools. Rather, the goal of meta teaching is to replace the role that an educated parent would serve at home in a middle or upper class family. Now, privileged families help their kids with homework at night, give them encouragement, send them for private classes. Now, that is the success to those kids' success at school, and that is the key. But some kids, like these poor children, they have nothing. Now, let's watch another video, the fourth one by of Prashant and Bhargav. Can we please play the fourth video? Thank you.
Arbor kahri no red kwa red itu red before you kahri pick kwa pick kahri
Assamese maris
hati ikan hati before you ikan hati elephant kwa elephant good before you cat dia good coba itu dicuri dan before
2 plus 1 gimana? K I N equal
chicken
itu কি হয় এটা দক কোড আছে চোৱা লিখা
D O G dog
so next itu কি mana sekali siapa
So these two boys in the video that we just saw, they both are orphans and they each were abandoned by their mothers. But we can put them together every day and make sure that young Bhargav has someone in his life encouraging him to learn and supporting his growth daily. The younger student is thrilled to have someone focus on them daily. But the best part of the meta teaching system is the older student benefits a lot too. Now, 15-year-old Prashanta here dropped out of primary school and was working in a quarry and as a woodcutter before he was 12. His mother left him and his sister when they were both very young. He came to us in 2016 all on his own and asked to be enrolled in our school. Now, he and the other older boys liked how we did not shame them for not knowing the alphabet and how we let them move through the curriculum at their own pace. But when he started teaching, that's when he really transformed. So even though he only teaches for 1 or 2 hours per day, his wages are based on his progress in school. So the more he learns, the more he earns. He went from learning his ABCs to 6th grade Cambridge English level in only 3 years. And he's an excellent teacher now. But as we had hoped, becoming a better teacher made him a better learner too. He has gained leadership skills, communication skills, deep compassion, and confidence. He also has the respect of the younger children and has become a happier, more responsible person. He earns his wages in a fake currency, which he can use at school to buy whatever he wants. He mostly buys food, clothing, shoes that we can get from the local shops, or he orders online himself. He also has a school bank account. He fills out weekly timesheets for his wages and files employee reports. He also fills withdrawal and deposit slips to manage his money as he learns to save and budget. By becoming a teacher, he learns how to be an adult. Now let's watch the last video, the 5th video, please. So this video is an assortment of the different activities that our children learn at school. So we have the senior boys who learn how to install solar panels when we install solar panels at our school. They learn the technical work behind it, and we are hoping to get them employed in the same solar firm that helped teach them. We also have an animal shelter where older kids are treating animals. These are the different vocational trainings we do at school. The kids are also doing landscaping now. And they are learning how to do carpentry under the guidance of an experienced carpenter. They also do printing work at school to assist the junior teachers. So the students just don't learn how to be a teacher. Now Prashanta, he did not just learn how to become just a teacher. He also has classes in English, math, science, computers, all the subjects he needs to earn his secondary certificate. But as much as possible, students also receive vocational and entrepreneurship training. Solar technician training, embroidery, office work, animal shelter, welding, carpentry, and landscaping, among other trades, all incorporating the lessons from math, English, and science classes. So like Mahatma Gandhi taught us, the school blends traditional academics with hands-on practical learning that can help them develop their own community, get an apprenticeship, or start a business. Now, this is a part of the promise we make to each student and their families, a promise we think every school should make to underprivileged students. We tell them, we are going to train you and guide you until you are placed into a high-skilled profession. We call this the school to career pipeline. A few of them will make it to college to become doctors or engineers or get a BA degree, maybe 10%. But the vast majority of them will not. So should we just continue to label these 90% of children as dropouts and losers and wish them the best of luck? Or maybe it's about time that schools put some dignity and pride into training carpenters, chefs, plumbers, and electricians, and make sure that they still have a decent education in language arts, financial math, and civics. Now, one day we hope to offer a new kind of degree, as one British think tank suggested, master craftswoman or master craftsman to cosmetologists, carpenters, chefs, and electricians, to offer dignity to professionals of all stripes. Now, before our students get their degrees, our students of all ages will already be working to improve their communities and their environment. Now, every student is trained to be a teacher, and likewise, every student is trained to be a technician at the school recycling center. Older kids get paid to sort and recycle the plastic, but children of all ages are required to pay weekly plastic school fees instead of actual money. Can you please show the sixth image? It's just a photograph. Thank you. So this is the image that spread all over the world like wildfire. This determined young boy Deep clutching his school bag in one hand and his plastic school fees in the other. Now we think it went viral because this picture shows a paradigm shift, a new way of thinking. It shows that children can be an important resource in fixing the problems of the world, and they can receive the best kind of education in the process. What if every school in the world had a policy like this? Maybe we could slow the growth of the swirling continents of plastic choking the ocean. Now, we have seen this idea work in a government school in Delhi. Before we started, the general agreement among school leaders and teachers was that the students were hopeless and that they are criminals, with one school inspector actually warning us that watch out, they might stab you. But within 2 months, they were model students. So you see, in addition to receiving wages for being responsible teachers, students also pay fines for any misbehavior. And I'll tell you, no amount of timeouts, detention, or even beatings will compare to the sting of losing money. It works for adults and it definitely works for children. So the local government was so impressed with the transformation of the students that they want us to reform more schools this year. So we have seen how this model can transform angry, alienated teens into responsible model students and model citizens. No more bullying, no more isolation. Every student can have a purpose and feel like they belong. Even some developed countries can benefit from a model like this, other than Finland, which is doing just fine already. But in the US, many schools drill their students for active shooters with machine guns, the way we drill students for earthquake fires, instead of addressing the real problem, the alienation of youth. They can stop the madness if schools take it upon themselves to make sure that young people have a sense of purpose and belonging. Now, schools need to make career placement and small business incubation a part of their responsibilities, especially for kids in poverty. So for the short term, we are doing solar tech training, installing rainwater harvesters, operating recycling units, and planting trees. But the end game is to train all teenagers for large-scale environmental cleanup and disaster relief, building shelters, providing food and water, first aid, and building more schools so that they can learn the work of resettling refugees and people displaced by climate change. Wildfires, air pollution, floods, rising sea level, droughts, food shortages, now pandemics, and mass migration are becoming the new norm. And the jobs of the future will be in addressing these. So schools need to take drastic steps to ensure that children are trained for these jobs and prepared for the challenges ahead. Now, schools need to evolve now to rethink what students are capable of and unlock a vast wealth of untapped potential. And if every school in the world takes steps like this, they can improve the quality of education and help the world face the challenges ahead at the same time. Schools can become centers for community transformation, incubating small businesses, providing skills training, and placing students into apprenticeships and entry-level jobs. Like how we have partnered with a solar panels firm to develop solar technician course for the 14 to 16-year-olds so that they can be ready to start earning for their families and have a high-skilled career at the same time. These new schools can also help the workers who are displaced by automation and AI to find a new purpose in life while they gain a sense of purpose from helping educate the next generation. Now, people don't have to be the problem. Overpopulation is often pegged as the main threat to the world, as if we human beings are the biggest threat to life on Earth. But what if instead of billions of poor, uneducated, and unemployed liabilities, we have masses of educated, empowered, enterprising families using creativity and innovation to fix their local communities? What if schools all over the world harness the power of teens and children? What if social ills become teachable moments and we incorporate them into the children's lessons in schools? The local work of millions of schools can add up to a huge difference. It may be enough to tackle the existential threats facing the global community. And it all starts by educating the whole child. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Parmita ji. It sounds so unbelievable. This is really something which people have not thought of, involving children in such wonderful ways where they become a part of solutions to global problems. And you are targeting many other issues, which could also be especially local, where the children had to leave their studies for working with their parents in order to earn for their families. But otherwise, also the much needed skills of resilience, communication, confidence, team building, etc. I think you have been able to achieve all that. We could see all that. And in
Thank you.
the latest NEP, the kind of pedagogy that you are using, it encompasses everything that those principles that NEP is founded on. So hats off to you, salute to you for making education completely holistic, vocational training based, engaging, enjoyable, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary. I could see so many implications of the way you are making this process happen. I was expecting some questions from the participants. There's one question from this young change maker. He's a 12-year-old boy, highly dedicated to the cause of SDGs, Arav Sage. He's asking, are you planning to open your school branches in Delhi NCR?
We already have a school in Delhi, but unfortunately, because of COVID, we had to shut it down. So now
Okay.
we are planning to expand through government schools because we realize that if we want to actually reach out to every child, it's not possible to have our own schools. So now we don't have an opportunity yet with the Delhi government to work in a nursery to 12 school, but we have an opportunity in Gwalior, and we are going to take that. So as soon as this pandemic gets over, we are hoping to start training government teachers in Gwalior to implement this model in government schools. And yes, the plan is to be in every school in India if possible.
Oh, great. And he's also asking which place in Delhi.
We have in Lajpat Nagar too. Lajpat Nagar too, primary government school.
I think these children also can lend a hand if you're
Oh,
planning to do it in
definitely.
Delhi. And thus children
Definitely.
who are
And if we have kids coming in from, private schools who are teaching these younger
wow,
children, it'll really help the younger kids, definitely.
wow. I also remember seeing some videos, some pictures of the plastic that the children bring, how they use it. I think that we didn't see in detail today. So if you
Yes,
could,
no, so sure. So our students are required to bring in 25 bags of plastic every week. Now we call that as plastic school fees because when we first told the students that you're required to do that, not everyone was doing it because it's still a lot of trouble to sort the plastic, keep it clean. So when parents were not sending that regularly, we told them that this is a free school. So if you want your kids to study here for free, you either pay fees or you send 25 bags of plastic every week. And after that, we have had no problem. Like students bring that every week. So now the teenagers at our school, after school hours, they recycle that plastic. So the students also collect plastic from some houses and restaurants around the school. And we have a couple of restaurants that give us plastic bottles. So with those plastic bottles, our students stuff in those plastic bags. Those plastic wrappers are stuffed like tightly, packed tightly into a plastic bottle. And then that becomes an eco brick. And that eco brick can be used for construction. So we have done small construction around our school, like a pathway connecting classrooms and a small planter. And we also intend to make a wall out of those eco bricks.
I was hoping for that video to be shown because it's really mind blowing. The way the plastic bottles are stuffed with sand. No, the plastic itself is used to fill inside the bottle
Yes.
compactly, and
Yes.
using it as bricks to do construction within the school. Also, they have built rooms, and that's simply outstanding. So, Arav says, I'm also planning to spread this awareness with his classmates, schoolmates about avoiding plastic and ask them whatever single use plastic they use, they can give to me for reusing. I want to ask what can I give
Nice.
them in return for the plastic they give. Wonderful question, Arav. What can Arav give to his friends when he asks them to bring plastic waste, single use plastic waste?
Sorry, can you come again?
So he has asked
Yeah,
his
what?
friends to get plastic, okay, and he
Okay.
wants to motivate them to do this. And in order to motivate their friends to continue doing this, what can he give them in return?
That's a good point. That's what it comes down to because we struggle to implement this whole policy in a government school. Why? Because government schools are free and they can't compel parents to do anything. Like in our
Right.
school, because they liked our school and they wanted the kids to continue, they had like some incentive. So that's what we are still trying to figure out how to incentivize government schools or anyone for that matter. And for the government schools, what we were coming up with, like for Gwalior, when we spoke to the officials over there, what we talk about is that the government already has like a lot of things for the kids. Like for example, like cycles or like stationery, things that are given to the kids for free every month. So whatever is given for free, we make that conditional, saying if you bring in plastic, and only then you can earn that. So we have to find a way to incentivize people because otherwise people couldn't care less, like seriously. And why
True.
should they? Like the poor people, just for our students, like they have so many issues in their lives. Like they can't be bothered about plastic. That's like the least of their concern. They have to worry about food. They have to worry about not getting abused by someone. So the problems in a poor community, it's many. And plastic is seriously the least of the problems. Like even where I live here, we have middle class families who burn plastic every day, and I can't convince them to stop doing that. So our education system needs to change. If we can actually change the mindset of the people, that's how maybe we can actually achieve that. And yes, incentive is really important. So we have to find something that appeals to that particular community or that particular group of people, and then incentivize them to bring plastic. So yeah, that's the main challenge. If you do figure it out, do let us know too, because we also want to get like middle
Right.
class kids also contributing to that, and maybe so here's the thing. In Assam especially, we have had a few schools visiting, and they also said that they wanted to do that. So we were thinking of giving them some incentives, like if you submitted like every week, or like if you send in like 25, 30 bags, whatever, every week to our school, then maybe we can give you something in return, like you can come to the school and play on tablets, or something. You have to come up with something that attracts those particular kids. Like those kids who have come over, they love playing football. So like, okay, if you come over here, then we will give you this football field for like an hour if you bring regularly. So so yeah, you have to figure out according to the need of that group and plan accordingly.
Right. And Arav is smart enough, he'll come up with the right solution to it. Our vice
Yes.
principal, Dr. Smita, wants to know who and what inspired you to take up this brilliant step at this young age.
Well, the original, I mean, what we actually wanted to do was to break this vicious cycle of poverty. We cannot progress as a country if we don't bring everyone along. Like that is the
Right.
wrong notion that we have, that middle class families, like they only think about their kids, giving their kids the opportunity, pushing them forward. But look at the pollution problem that we have. So even those middle class kids are going to suffer from the same problems of pollution that poor people will. So we cannot leave them out. And this issues that we are having is because people are not educated. So our original plan was to just educate children. But once we started doing that, we saw the different problems that the students face with, and then we decided to tackle all of those problems. Our school is not just a school, it's like a community center where we do healthcare. We also help students get official documents because most of our kids don't have birth certificates. We had to start giving food because the students couldn't afford that. We had to pay them because, like they had to otherwise go out to work. So everything just evolved when we started working with the kids, and we realized what their problems were, and then we tried to find solutions to tackle those problems.
So basically, it is your passion to ensure that education can reach to every single child in our country and helping them.
Yes, because otherwise we are doomed, like the whole world is doomed. Like, seriously, it's high time that we start thinking about other people. And I mean, we only have one planet, so we have to work together. Like, we have global problems now, for global
Wow.
problems, we require global solutions. So
And
that's what,
Parmita ji,
we need to work.
thank
Yes.
you. And what you have done is hitting so many targets with that one stone.
Yeah,
Whether it's
trying
about
to.
climate change, it is about reducing the dropout rates from schools, making children self-reliant and resilient and confident. You were saying that children are nervous before the camera, but nobody can say that. They were so confident.
Oh, well, that's good to know. The thing is, if you actually want to help some people get out of the vicious cycle of poverty, you have to help them. You have to have a holistic approach. You can't be just having one-dimensional approach. So
True.
if you're just giving education to students, they're facing abuse at home. They don't have food to eat. So those are still issues that's a part of their reality. And if we can't help them with that, they will not be interested in education.
Very
So
true.
the young girls, they need sanitary pads now. Without that, they can't come to school. So we also give sanitary pads to the young girls. So unless we actually help them meet up at least the basic needs, it's difficult for them to get out of that pit. So that's what we are trying to do. We're not doing anything great. We are just addressing the basic needs of the community, which middle class families or elites, they take it for granted. Like the basic things that we are providing to our students, it's just taken for granted for the middle class families, right? So that's what we are trying to do, like give them the environment so that they can actually at least have the basic needs to come out of that.
That's truly wonderful. And we all sitting here feel so inspired by you as the participants are also writing. I have a question to ask you. Uh, is there no question of child labor here legally? Does this question arise?
Very good question. No, that's a very good question. So here's the thing, whether you like it or not, 12 years old are going and working, right?
Yes.
That's a fact. If you go to any factories near our school, you will see so many young children working. Now, because of pandemic, our students are working. So that is the reality, first of all.
True.
So when we talk about the legal part of it, we just protect ourselves because kids are going out working anyway. Because of this pandemic, child labor is going to increase tenfold. Child marriages are going to increase tenfold. So we have to address that problem. We can't walk around it, or we can't tiptoe around it and just keep ourselves away from that because it's not the right thing. Secondly, from the age of 14 onwards, you can work for 3 hours a day. That's the government rule. So
Three
all
hours
our students,
a
three
week,
hours a day, a
a
day,
day. Okay.
3 hours a day. That's allowed. So
A
so
paid
no
work.
one, so including, yeah, exactly, paid work. Students are allowed to do that. And if you look at the Western country, like from age 15, 16 onwards, kids are encouraged to do entrepreneurship
True.
activities. Like you have like a lemonade stand. They're like kids, like kids below the age of 10 years who have a lemonade stand, and then people come and buy just lemonade from them. So that's how they develop their entrepreneurship skills, things that kids are exposed to from a young age, which here, because of the exploitation of child laborers, again, that's why we have those rules in place. So we have to keep that in mind also. But then again, laws doesn't mean, like, suppose our student doesn't work. Who's going to feed that kid? Are we looking into that? Are we talking about that? No, we are just looking at, okay, child labor is bad, so we shouldn't allow that. But we are not providing an alternative. So even the government, when they put up restrictions on, things like, okay, you can't employ children or whatever it is, you have to provide something to counter that, like something so that they can actually do that. You have to provide facilities for that. You can't just make laws and then expect the society to sort it out by itself, because we are a poor country. Our poverty is a big issue, and to overcome that, we have to find ways to do it, and the government needs to provide more support again, because again, this recent thing about increasing the age of marriageable age to 21 years old for girls, will that actually change like the life of girls? It will not. Kids are still getting married. In our community, we have children who are getting married. So we can't just be putting laws and then expect things to fall in place. Like we have to work towards that, making that law a reality and provide the support that it needs to make it into a thing.
Ma'am, it has far-reaching consequences on the society, the future of the country and the world. I would also like to share with you a beautiful comment and well-deserved by you, by Ms. Vijayapkarta, who is a national awardee. She has received the President's Award. She is a wonderful school administrator. Now she has taken voluntary retirement, but she keeps guiding people like me. And she has written, "What amazing ideas! Salute you, and may your tribe grow." I would say it's
Oh,
a
thank you so much.
blessing.
That's such an honor. Thank you so much.
And Sharmila ji will share ma'am's ID with you, and you can
Please.
communicate with Parmita ji later.
Great.
So I would like you to tell how the students and especially the schools, the parents, all the stakeholders in high-end schools, let's say international schools, etc., what can be done to bring a change in the mindset to
So the
introduce this
first
kind
thing,
of philosophy in the
so the
school?
first thing is just having separate schools is like a big hindrance. You have schools where middle class kids go, you have schools where rich kids go, you have schools where poor kids go. Why this segregation? And when you are doing that segregation, which means that you are encouraging people to be just stuck where they are. And that's what the government schools are supposed to be. Government schools were supposed to be a place where everyone sends their kids there, irrespective of the class. That's what Finland has achieved. They have amazing schools. Why? Because everyone has a stake at that school from any class. So we have to work towards that. We have to strive towards having an inclusive education, because we're not teaching the right things to your kids if you're sending them to just a rich school. Like, just their basic behavior is so bad with poor people. Like, I have seen so many middle class rich kids and having such bad behavior with anyone they think is beneath them. So all these values, those are being taught at home and those are being taught at school again. Like in elite schools, they are just told that they are better than everyone else. So children from a young age, they think they are better than everyone else. So when you have issues like that, then we can't even overcome like the caste problems that we have in our community. So the goal, I mean, again, it's not easy because, our government schools are not doing great at all. And people want the best education for their children, definitely. So what we are hoping we can do eventually is have a school where kids of different classes can come together and
Yes.
work together. And that's the only way we can take the whole society forward.
And if
So
you
we
plan
have
to
to
open a
strive.
school, if you plan to open it in Mumbai, we are with you. We
Awesome.
all are
That
with
will be
you.
great.
And
Thank
I
you.
guarantee the support of my entire fraternity, that is teachers from my school, the parents and the students.
Thank you
And
so
I will be
much.
there 1000% with you. And I,
Thank you so much.
it will be ideal if you could come up with such a place where children from all backgrounds, all classes are there, where there is no distinction, and everybody realizes that this applies to each one of us. And when we talk of universalization of education and access to all, you are setting a great example of it. And like you said,
Thank you.
unless and until we have government schools coming to that level where there is no distinction between international, private, government, I think that is when we can truly talk of inclusive education and the quality,
Exactly.
equity and quality and equality and everything. If any participant would like to speak to ma'am, whether it's a question or sharing of a thought, please feel free to unmute yourselves. Parmita ji, would you like to give some message to the teachers?
Ma'am, I have one question, if
Please,
I may ask.
please.
Yes, who's this?
Ma'am, this is Nirav Mehta.
Oh, yes, sir. Namaste. So, Parmita
Namaste,
ji,
ma'am.
Neerav ji is a parent of our school.
Okay.
So, Parmita, ma'am, I just, due to some commitment, I joined this session halfway. So, I was not
Okay.
able to hear your entire session from the start. Probably, if my question has been, addressed in your session earlier, then it's fine.
No, please don't worry about that.
I just had one question. See, the way you are working, it's kind of a rebellious approach in India. So what happens is your inspiration, motivation, and influence is commendable. The thing which you have started is like a revolution. So that thing to sustain in India amongst this culture, where as you rightly pointed out, that there are different sets of communities which has been created, there are different schools that has been created, and there's no such single government school which provides the class of education which is the need of the hour. But then what is the sustainability of the model which you are looking currently? See, because if the government does not participate in this holistic education, then for this model to sustain at all levels becomes a difficult task.
True.
Definitely. So because of this issue that we realized, we decided to partner with government. In the beginning, we were of the idea that we don't want to work with the government because it's too much politics and things like that. But then again, to reach every child, we have to work with the government. So now we are in talks with the Gwalior government, and So they are giving us the freedom to organize the classes like we want. That means we can group the kids by their skills, not by their age. Before the new policy came out, they had already told us that we can start vocational training from a young age, and we will be training their teachers. So now our idea is that suppose you are working in a school in Gwalior, so their teachers will come to our Assam school, train with us for like 2-3 weeks, and then after that we will give them full support. We will have our full staff there teaching them how to implement our model. And then once they are able to do that independently, that's when we move on. And then the plan is to get the government to hire our teachers so that we can be sustainable, so that we are not dependent on donations like we are now. Like now we have to totally rely on trusts and foundations. So we are hoping that we can get the government to, pay for our staff so that we can provide full support to their teachers to implement our model. And in Gwalior, we are getting 2 schools at first. We were supposed to start in April, but because of pandemic, we couldn't. But they'll give us 2 schools, and if they like our work, they will give us 1,800 schools. So if we can actually transform a district, that's when we make a real impact. And if we can actually bring about that change, we are hoping that more and more governments would want to adopt this model because we are able to make it work. And the thing is, if we get support from the middle class people, even the elites, we can actually make this work, because they have the resources for that. We can make government schools better. It's just a question of will, and of course, there's a lot of politics involved. I don't want to get into that, so that's a whole different part. But yeah, we can definitely try to make the government schools better.
Wonderful, ma'am. You are a live example of be the change you want to see in the world. So you didn't wait for things to happen around you, but you took a step and made that possible. It's really very, very inspiring. And we understand sustainability is an issue, but like you said, where there is a will, there is a way. And we all wish you the best. We also hope that more and more school, including ours, thinks on those lines, and we would be able to bring that dream of having equality and equity for all the children in India a reality. And I truly hope and wish that it comes true.
Thank
Are
you.
there any more questions? Any participants would like to speak? So yes, Miss Florence, who's also a parent of our school, she says she wants to ask if you would start a school project in Mumbai. I would love to work with you. So,
Oh, that's great. We are actually looking to work in Nasik. We are looking to work with the government schools in Nasik. Because of the pandemic, nothing moved forward, but we had already started the process. And our funders are based in Mumbai, so they are very keen that we work in Mumbai as well. So any opportunity we get, we will be in Mumbai, that's for sure.
yes, please be in touch with me. Let me know so that we can
Definitely. That would be great.
also, our teacher, Ms. Deepthi, wants to know if you get subsidies from the government.
No, not yet. We don't
None?
get any support. We have no support from the government. But
And
we are starting to work in government schools. So then we should be getting some help from the government.
right, once they adopt your pattern.
Exactly, yes.
And may I know the students study up to which grades and which board do they appear for?
So our students in model school in Assam, they are doing NIOS, National Institute of Open Schooling.
All of
And we
them.
will have up to 12th, yes, all of them. But wherever we go, we follow their board module. So in Delhi, we are doing CBSE. In Gwalior, we will be doing the state board. So it depends on what the government school wants us. We'll follow that accordingly.
So how many schools
And
are you
our
running as of now? Sorry.
So we have a school in Delhi now and a school in Guwahati. That's it. We have only 2 schools, and we are in talks with the government for 2 more schools. The Delhi school, we are mostly going to shut down our operations because the school hasn't been in session since March, and it's getting difficult for us to keep up with our staff because we have no money, because we are a charity. So we are mostly going to shut that down if schools don't open like in the next 1 month or two. But yeah, we are looking to get into Gwalior, and we are looking to get into 100 schools. After 2 schools, 100, and then 1,800 schools, hopefully.
It could be too much to ask for, but then I feel your work needs to spread. And you should try taking on more and more schools and inspiring more and more
Yeah,
people.
we are trying. We are trying. It is difficult, like working in the whole government sector is not easy, because we come up with a different set of ideals and beliefs, and that often, clashes with the people in power. But
True.
thankfully, in Gwalior, it has been actually pretty great. The officials have been very supporting. They understood our model. They said we want vocational training before the policy came out. So they
Oh,
seem like progressive people, and we are hoping that we can make a start there.
it's really great to hear about a city based in MP, which is so progressive,
Yes,
getting so progressive.
exactly. We were really surprised. Like, we got much better feedback from people in Gwalior than in Delhi. So, they
That's good.
seem like they want to make. And the best part is the Gwalior government, they were also developing an app where people could hire, like, suppose plumbers or electricians through the government app. So the
Oh,
idea was that once we train our students for vocational training, then we can link
right.
them up to that app. And then when someone downloads a government app and wants a plumber, we can have an Akshar certified plumber who will go and help them with that. So they already were thinking of that app before we met them. So we are hoping to connect our students and their skills with that app.
That's really futuristic. That opens
It
career
is.
opportunities for your children.
It really does. Yeah.
Miss Florence would like to ask a question to you. Ma'am, please
Sure.
unmute yourself and go ahead.
Um, Thank you very much for this opportunity. This topic is something that's very close to my heart. I was, I was doing some voluntary work with some orphanages here in Bombay, and the issues that I have, there are quite a few issues here in the city, in an urban area, that would not be in a remote location. Now, the first question I had is, you mentioned there were some orphans that came to your school.
Yes.
So, where do they live
Yes.
after school hours?
So the students that were coming to our government school in Delhi, they were living in a government group home. They were living in a government orphanage. And a lot of the students, they didn't know their parents. Some of them were in jail. So the students had like, they were not, they had like a lot of psychological issues. So those students, when they started coming to our school, though, in like 2 months, we saw them completely turn over because they started earning money for teaching.
Oh,
So that inspired them, or that encouraged them to show good behavior, because if you don't behave well, you lose money. So this thing of just, and those kids at the orphanage, they had everything at the orphanage. Like, it was a really nice government home where they had the nice toys and video games and whatever they wanted. But the students were so destructive that anything new that is there in their home, anyone gives them something, they immediately break it. Like, because their environment was like that. They have grown up in that environment. They had facilities, but they didn't have the love and care that children need. So that is what we were working on at the school. And then, of course, this paying money, it really transformed them. And we don't give them cash, right? So they have that purchasing power. Now, when you earn money, and then you, like, even adults, when you earn your first salary, don't you feel proud about it? Aren't you like happy that, hey, I've accomplished something, I have purchasing power? Same with kids. So we can give them that same self-confidence by games, or by whatever means we can at school, so that they are more ready to deal with the life or the reality.
Another question that I had is, since it's a mixed bunch that comes to a government school, have you come across children whose parents are like addicts or living in bus stations or railway station, and they do not have a place to call a home? So, do you also give them like kind of counseling at your school, or to help them,
So
you
it
know?
depends on where we are, but we try to focus on the kids now. So yeah, counseling services, we have like an ongoing counseling at school anytime. So anytime we see a kid in distress, or we think that the kid has any issues, and we don't do like a one-time counseling. It's like a constant mentoring, because we only have 100 students. So we can actually individually track the progress of each child, see the particular living conditions of that kid, and then address the problem accordingly. So we try to do as much as we can, but again, we have limitations because we have budget restrictions. So in Assam, we have a lot of parents who are alcohol addicts, and they make alcohol and they sell alcohol, and lots of rampant abuse going on in the community. So we are slowly trying to address that by talking. And there's a lot of, you won't believe it, there's a lot of class system going on in the poor village community, because even in the village, even though everyone is poor, they still think that, oh, I'm better you because I have a better income, or like, I'm not a tribal, things like that. So these issues are always there. We try. Now in Assam, the advantage that we always had was that the students loved coming to school. Because of that, we could also compel the parents to change their behavior to the extent possible, so that the kids are still coming to the school. So in Delhi, we are struggling with that because the government school is free, which means that, like, we can't put any imposition on them that we'll kick your kid out if you don't listen to us. We couldn't do that. So in Delhi, that was a big problem, but all the kids who were coming were mostly from orphanage. And the other poor kids that we had, those were from slum areas who were not on the roadside. So it wasn't that big of a problem, but they were all migrants. So, by September, honestly, I think all of them have gone. So in future, yes, we also have a plan to help people like them. Hopefully, if we can get some support from the government, because that requires a lot of funding. So we are just now trying to do what we can, instead of just overreaching ourselves and then just being too involved in that without being actually able to bring about a change.
Sorry, I had another question. Is it
Please,
okay?
of
Okay.
course.
Yes, we
Um,
can ask, ma'am.
Now, the main hurdle with the underprivileged is the um, lack of means to make more money or to improve their living condition. So the children that I have come across in Mumbai, they have this mentality, my uncle robs, he makes much more money within one night. What's the point? Why should I come to school? बड़ा होके यही तो करूंगा. That kind of attitude, the bully kind of attitude. And yes, in the orphanages they do get lovely gifts, but they just play with it for one day, next day they just throw it. They're like angry
Same.
with it. And it sometimes becomes difficult to understand why. You are finally getting an opportunity to live in a decent home, you're getting good things, but they will break the things, they will tear up their friends new clothes, just out of spite. So I'm sure you have come across this when you started on. So in short, will you be able to share what did you do to change the child's mindset? Because
You got to start paying them. You pay them to do things that they want to do. So the
uh,
first issue that you said, that you have like people, kids saying, why should I study when I can earn that much money per day? Now that's what we are trying to change, like that mindset. And that's when we started telling the parents and the older teenagers also that if you do that, you will get only this much money, not every day. But if you study, you get more and more money as you learn more and more. So you have to instill that in them, that as soon as you learn more, you earn more money. And then at our school, that is demonstrated to them how, that suppose you are in level 5 and you are teaching a student in level 1. When you go from level 5 to level 6, your pay increases, which means that the student is like, oh, okay, I learned this thing, I mastered this particular grade, and now I get more money. So they're also incentivized to learn more. So we are trying to instill them that when they are teaching, that you learn more to earn more, like that is what we go with. And this has worked wonders with the kids once they can internalize that.
I
You were
also feel
saying
along with
something?
money, the other factor which might boost their enthusiasm is the feeling of respect and dignity that they get.
Exactly. That also makes a huge difference, because you get the respect of the younger students who look up to you, who respect you, who call you sir and ma'am. And that's a big deal for a lot of kids who have always been treated like garbage by the community. So that, but yeah, the money thing, it really works, like I cannot tell you how well that works, because you are giving them that opportunity now. When you grow up, when that thing that you were saying, that, okay, when I grow up, I'll become like my uncle, but you don't get that now. That's when you grow up. So what can you give them now? This is something we can give them now. So, so if you can do that, maybe, and you don't even have to pay them a lot of money, little amounts of money. Like our kids, they start off with like 5 rupee wages, 5 points. So it's not much, but that's enough for them to feel that, okay, I'm earning something, I have the purchasing power, I'm like an adult, I'm treated like an adult, and I can do whatever I want with my money that I earn. That's a big confidence boost for young children. And what
And
was the
this
second?
leads to great decision making skills at young age.
Exactly. And the students also learn how to save, because, like in the beginning, when we started giving them money, the kids were like, okay, so I'm going to buy chocolate and toffees. And then they were like, okay, but if I save up for like 1 month, then I can buy my shoes. So, so they started realizing that, okay, if we can gratify the satisfaction of getting something, then we can buy better and better things. And now we have kids who have stored up to like 5,000 rupees in the school bank, because they are saving money to buy something that they really want, like a smartphone or a tablet. So they are learning like a lot of banking skills about saving. They deposit money every week at the bank on Friday. They can withdraw money from the school bank. They do Amazon shopping. Our kids are like professionals at Amazon shopping. They know how to navigate. They know how to open the internet. So a lot of skills they are learning just by doing, instead of us making them sit in a class and teaching them word by word. And the second thing that you mentioned is The orphanages that the students have a lot of issues, and you have to slowly work through that, and that's a very long process. Like, you can't change that overnight because those kids are really messed up. Like, we have seen that firsthand. Like, we have kids in Delhi who would just smash their hand into a glass pane and then come next day all bleeding because they have a lot of anger issues. They have abandonment issues. Their parents left them when they were young, and they grow up. Like, even if you're in a government home, it's not that the people who are working there are super nice to you. There's like a lot of abuse going on in the government homes also, like if you look into that, which is what we don't see, because if you go there for 4 hours or 5 hours, you don't know what the real picture is, what happens when there is no one. So those are issues that are like really complex issues that, that has to be dealt slowly. It requires time. But once you can gain the confidence of the kids, they slowly start opening up, and then you slowly start to understand what the issues are. And then you have to try to come up with a solution without hurting the kid who's revealing things to you. We got to know about some really disturbing things that was going on at the orphanage where we were working. But if we talk about it straightforward, then the kid gets in trouble. So we have to think of ways so that we can still work on that, but in such a way that the kid doesn't get in trouble. You don't violate the kid's trust in you, and then still try to come up with a solution. So that's a long-term process. We have issues like in our Assam school also, lots of abuse issues going on, and we are trying to accommodate those kids at our school. So we have 4 boys who live at our school at all times, because if they go to home, they have to start earning, and then there's a lot of abuse going on, things like that. So we are hoping that, like, in general, if we honestly want to deal the problems that the poor people are facing, you have to get the kids away from their families, which means if you can provide like a good hostel facilities, or like something where the kids are engaged the whole day and they are not around their destructive parents, then there might be a real scope of making a change. That's what we have seen in our students, that the students who go back to their home versus students who stay at school, there's like a big difference in them, because just not having that burden of having to deal with their parents every second, beatings and abuses, it gives them some peace of mind to want to try to focus on other things. So our plan was, and it still is to have the school at least from like 6 a.m. in the morning till like 8 p.m. at night, once we can afford to do that, because that costs money. But if we can provide them that, that means that kids are engaged the whole day productively, and we can protect them as much as possible from their abusive parents.
Thank you, Ms. Parmita. These were some really pertinent questions.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was awesome listening to all your answers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Very insightful, truly. And I'm sure the kind of guidance that you're giving to children, it comes from the professionals who are associated with you, who understand how delicate these issues are, and hence it definitely helps those children in the long run. I also like the part where you brought out the sense of responsibility that the children develop, where they decide of postponing buying something rather than buying something right now. So we all are aware about the benefits of delayed gratification.
Yes.
The experiment, the marshmallow experiment by Dr. Walter Mischel. So I think your children really are getting a hold of their feelings and emotions, and are able to decide what is right for them in the long run. That's wonderful. I would like to let you know that Ms. Vijayam Karta has written in the comment box that she is working with a number of schools. Let me tell you, she has also worked as trustee and principals in various schools, including tribal schools. So she says we have around 4,000 students in our schools for the underprivileged. We will get in touch with you how to collaborate, if that is okay with you.
Of course, that will be great. We are happy to collaborate, definitely. Please do. Maybe I can get your email ID or something. We'll definitely
Yes,
get
so
it.
I'll share the contacts.
Please.
I'll
That
send to
would be
both
great.
of you each other's contacts. Also, I will personally connect with you and take guidance on what we can do with the tribal village that we have near our school, where we wish to do something humble, something at the ground root, the grassroots level. We started with some very humble initiatives of knowledge on wheels, etc., where our children go and speak to those children, try to connect with them, and bring in a culture of reading, discussing with them.
That's great.
And some more such initiatives we plan to do, and your guidance would help us a lot.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I have so much to learn from you all as well. Like, we have so much experience. So definitely, we can help each
What
other.
you're doing is truly, truly fantastic, completely innovative, and I truly feel that your work must be replicated. Uh, you must spread a word about it. I'll do my best to spread a word about
Thank
the
you.
work that you are doing, because the new education policy looks at the kind of futuristic India, the futuristic education that it envisions, it's very much happening in your schools at your own levels. So this can be an example, a brilliant example for others to emulate. So thank you.
Thank
And
you.
ma'am, our next session is also about holistic education. So the 25th session.
I was about to tell everybody that you are invited to our next Aadharshila talk scheduled on next Monday, that is 31st of August. It is the 25th Aadharshila talk on holistic education. And here is the digital invite for all of you. The speakers are our own founders, that is the current chairman of the trust that runs our school, and Bapuji, the founder, trustee of our school. Don't forget to register, mark your calendar, mark this date on it, and hope to see you there. Thanks to all our parents, Arav, children like Arav, all my friends, all the educators from all around the country. Thank you, Vijay ma'am, for your kind words. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to the principals, the principal of KPS Padma, Jamshedpur. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. All the best, ma'am, Parmita ma'am. I also request,
Thank you for having me.
if possible for you in the future, to spare some time for a, a brief meeting with our students to talk about what is entrepreneurship and especially what is social entrepreneurship, because what you are doing is truly commendable, and if the young children can get that knack of thinking innovatively in such a way which impacts the society so positively, I think that would make a huge deal of difference to the world. So would it be possible for you?
Actually, you should train kids like Arav to do that, because kids influence kids much better than adults can. So when you have, smart kids like him who are interested in actually doing things, that's where you can, bring about change and get more kids to participate.
So can we invite you to have a meeting with our students, this virtual meeting?
Definitely, I would love that.
Wow.
Sure, of course,
And
anytime.
if some of your
Let me
students
know.
could be there with you, one or two, they can also share.
If the schools are open, that would be great. But now because schools are closed and they don't have internet access, it's a little difficult.
Okay.